Hello, my name is Brett Davies. I'm barrister and solicitor at Legal Consolidated. Today I'm going to talk about one of my favourite topics, self-managed super funds. And we're actually going to build one online and look at all the hints and training videos and everything you ever wanted to know about self-managed super funds. Now, what's the deal? The deal is this. We're concerned that young people won't get any of the age pension because us old people are using it all up. So when you come, you're young, when you come to retire, there won't be any money for you from the government. So you'll just live on the street as a pauper. So in order to stop that, because you might vote against the government at the time, we're going to encourage you to put your money into a superannuation fund. Maybe it's self-managed, maybe it's corporate, maybe it's retail. And the deal is, if you do this wonderful thing, if you put money into your super fund for your retirement, for the sole purpose of your retirement, government will give you massive tax incentives. A small percentage of tax going in, when your highest marginal tax rate is getting up towards 50%. But for your superannuation fund, it's quite low. But there is a little bit of a rub, and that is you can't touch the money until you reach your preservation age, until you reach a sufficient age or you get very sick or something like that. So it is locked away and you can't touch it. So let us begin. Now, if you go to our website, legalconsolidated.com.au, it's the only website in Australia where you can build legal documents. And there's lots to build: demand letters, wills, three-generation testamentary trusts, employment contracts. But today, I'd like to build a self-managed super fund. We have got many different types. So deeds of variation, but there's only one deed, and that's a self-managed super fund deed. I have been involved in building it over 100 or 18,000 times. So let us begin. Now, a self-managed super fund used to be called excluded superannuation funds, and now self-managed because mum and dad themselves look after it. There's no someone in the Rialto Tower in Melbourne looking after your super fund. You're doing it, together with the help of your financial advisor, your accountant, your auditor, and your lawyer. So there's some training videos there for you. And these are the changes that were made. About every 10 years, a serious and major changes to superannuation funds. A big one was 2017, and that required 15 updates of your self-managed super fund. But you're starting a new deed, so you don't have to worry about that. If you got an old deed, you'll need to update it. New rules for trusts, a lot of excitement there. So let us start building. Before we do, you can press that for a full sample of the document. Why don't we do that now? So I've downloaded a free sample of the document, and this just gives you an indication of what will happen when you build the document. Obviously, this will be different when you build your document. This is just a sample document. You have a full sample. Let's now look at the checklist, because you can actually get a checklist as well. So I'm going to press checklist, and this will tell me the questions that need to be answered. They're the questions. So as an accountant, financial advisor, or lawyer, you may want to print this out and give it to your secretary to get the details from your clients. So let's start building the document, the self-managed super fund. Now, if this is the first time you've gone onto our website, just press sign up now, and you'll be able to put your username, email, password, and then confirm your password. That's all it is, and it's free. So just fill that in. But I'm a member. I've already joined up, so I'm going to put in my username. And here it is. I'm going to start building my self-managed super fund. But what's this here? Well, if you've built a document previously, you can actually use the data from that document. So I've built a number of documents here. I could actually pick up the information. So for example, if you're an accountant or financial advisor or lawyer building the document and you've built a will for your clients, you can select that information and it will pre-populate. It will fill out a lot of the information for your self-managed super fund. But in this instance, I'm just going to start afresh. So here it is. The first question is the name of my self-managed super fund. So with a name of your self-managed super fund, you can call your self-managed super fund anything your heart desires. It's not registered anywhere. It's just a made-up name. And in fact, the most common, can you guess, the most common name for a self-managed super fund in Australia is the Smith self-managed super fund, because there's a lot of Smiths and Jones. Now, I've got here some exotic names that I've seen, not from my clients, of course, because I'm subject to legal professional privilege. I can't repeat what my clients have done, but I've seen a McScrooge superannuation fund. I thought it was rather dangerous. Fortuna, or the I can't remember the Sweet Life cost, Dolce Vitae. Is that correct, Mark? Dolce Vitae? I think it's about right. And from my school days, it's Latin for the Sweet Life, and obviously the most common names. So there's a bit of a hint there. Now, what are the requirements to set up a self-managed super fund? We'll find out because we're going to have members, trustees, and references. So we'll find out we only have up to between 1 and 4 members, and if you have 1 member, you've got to have a company or a co. We're going to do all that. But here, we'll whet your appetite as to the different rules. They will come up automatically, so you don't need to worry too much about that. Do I need to register my self-managed super fund anywhere? Yes, you do. And is the D compliant with the new accounting standards? It certainly is. And do I get a product disclosure statement? Well, what is a product disclosure statement? A product disclosure statement is a statement about how you conduct your self-managed super fund. It's very interesting because when the laws changed, I spoke as I'm an adjunct professor. I lecture superannuation, have done so for many years as an adjunct professor at a number of universities around Australia. And I've always said from day one that you must have a product disclosure statement in every single self-managed super fund. But I was a lone wolf. No one agreed with me. Not one tax lawyer in Australia agreed with me. They all said it was a waste of time. And I kind of agree that having product disclosure statements are a bit of a waste of time. But they are necessary to protect the accountant, the advisor, the auditor and lawyer and the mum and dad. Now what happened in this case was that mum and dad divorced, the super fund went down, and mum said, I don't know how to operate a self-managed super fund. You should have given me a product disclosure statement. She sues the advisor, the accountant, the auditor and dad, the other member of the fund. So product disclosure statements probably don't do much, but they certainly do protect dad and the accountant and the advisor, and you will get one automatically. If you've ever built, since 1988, when I started preparing self-managed super funds, you're always going to get a product disclosure statement as soon as the laws came into effect. So, I'm going to search my name, see if it comes, my street address, see if it comes up, and there it is, Pitt Street. Now, that's the address of the super fund. I've pressed next, but nothing happened. What was that? Oh, hang on, there's something here. I've got to put something in called the name of the trust. So why don't we call it the James Smith. What do we call the wife's name as well? James and Jody Smith. Now, should I put superannuation fund? Why not? I might call it the superannuation fund. I don't need to. You can make up any name you want. And even though there might be hundreds of James and Jody Smith superannuation funds, this is mine. There may be many. This is mine. Now we're going to look to the members. So there's a difference between members and trustees. That's very exciting. We're going to learn a bit about that. So let's put in the first one, and that's James Edward, say Smith. So he can be our first member. That's Dad. And his date of birth. Well, that's a bit old. It's his date of birth. Now, how many members can I have? Well, we can have 1, 2, 3 or 4 members. And it's the very definition of a self-managed super fund. You either have between 1, 2, 3 or 4 members. You get 4 choices, those 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Often it's just mum and dad. But these self-managed super funds cost a bit of money to audit every year. So you might want to bring 1 or 2 of your children in as well. Who can't be a member of the fund? Now, this is really interesting because if you're bankrupt, you can't fund. If you live overseas, you can be a member of the fund, but there's certain rules that apply. Bankruptcy or convicted, you need to be very careful to make sure you're entitled to be a member. And your accountant or financial advisor or lawyer that's setting this up for you, they will check that for you. And let's get Dad's address in. Elizabeth Street in North Hobart, my second favourite suburb in the whole world. Beautiful area. Now, I have selected only 1 member, and therefore I'm being forced to ask, are all the members of trustees? Now, so let me just check that. I've put down 1 member. Can I have a 1-member fund? Well, the logic flows very tight. We're a law firm, and right now you're on a law firm's website, You get all the protection of a law firm. So things are done exactly correct. There might be other websites which provide legal documents and might claim to have some lawyer provide the legal precedents. We are the law firm. Now, in this instance, I've pressed one member, and I'm going to have all the members are trustees. And therefore, by law, I must have a co-trustee. Now, or I can have a company. They're my two choices. A single member fund can exist. You can have a single member fund, just one member of the fund, but they must either have a co-trustee, which is another person who won't be a member, could be your wife, your child, anyone that's not any, that you don't employ or you're not employed from unless they're related to you. So pretty much anyone, any family member is fine. But I'm going to go back because I'd like to add my wife as a member of the fund as well. So I see it says select name the next member. I will do so. Let's have a look. Her name's Joanne. July Turptune. And if there is someone called that, I've just made it up. So please don't ring me up and say, why have you used my name in the self-managed super fund? Now, let's make the wife 83. There we go. And her address. She lives in Perth. Now I've got two members. One, two, a mum and dad. I could have another. I could have a third. I could have the fourth. But two's pretty common, and I'm happy with that. Now, a different set of questions come up. It says, do I want all the members to be trustees, which I can do. And if I was to press next, that would allow me, because I don't have to have a company. Most people do, and I do myself personally. I have a company as trustee of my self-managed super fund, but you don't need to. If you've got two or more members, you can have all the members being the trustees. So let's have a look at those rules here and the hints which you get. So what is best? Should we have a company as trustee, or should we have a human? And there's some information on that. I think these days it's probably better to have a company. A company does cost a lot of money to set up because the ASIC fees are hundreds of dollars, but you can set that up on our law firm's website as well. It's a special purpose company. So if you decide to have a company, when you build on our website, you select special purpose company, and that will put all the terms and conditions in the Constitution. And the good news for a special purpose company is the ASIC fees, the Australian Securities Investment Commission fees, are very, very low when you only operate the company to be the trustee of your self-managed super fund. So there's a bit of an argument either way whether you should have. But the other thing is, if you don't have a company, you just have mum and dad, you do save fees. So there's pros and cons for both sides. I'm going to opt to have a company as trustee. I've spoken to my accountant, and my accountant has said that I should have a company. So I've incorporated a company called Twang Proprietary Limited. You could make it Twang Superannuation Proprietary Limited. I don't like it. I don't like telling people my private business. It's no one's business to know that this company, apart from the Australian Taxation Office and ASIC, of course, but otherwise it's a private matter if I use Twang Proprietary Limited as trustee of my self-managed super fund. So I'm just going to leave it as Twang. I think I'm giving enough information out to the public. I've put the Australian company's number, ACT. What can you make yourself and the company trustee of your self-managed super fund? No, sorry, you can't do that. And there's other more help and hints. So all the way along you can answer any questions. And the company will have the address. It can be your home address. Which is Arundel. Gee, this self-managed super fund certainly has a very national feel about it. Now, see these green ticks? Green ticks means that the logic flow, as approved by legal consolidated barrels and solicitors, as approved by us, we're happy with that logic flow. You've answered the questions. Now, in this instance, I'm going to change it to Smith and Weston, self-managed super fund, and I'm going to have that reference on every single page. and also like my corporate logo. So if you have your accountant or financial planner or law firm's logo and you upload it in the My Records section, you can, and then you also tick that box, your logo will come up in every one of our documents if you want them to be there. Now the good thing about it is if after you build the document and there's a typo or spelling error or you don't want your logo on it anymore, your supervising partners who don't want the logo on, just email us or send another voucher out and you can build the document again using the same data, but just change the data as you see fit. So every single one of our documents has a money back guarantee. So I'm going to go next. And now this is interesting. This is a summary page. I'm going to very carefully go through this. If the information is correct here, if it's typographically correct here, then it will be correct in the final document that I'm building. So I see here the word "the" and "fund." That looks good. The date of birth for the first member. Excellent. All right, I'm now going to press lock. So I'm going to make any changes I want to make. I can make changes. So for example, I've just changed the date of Joanne to the 5th of May. And now let's have a look at the summary page again. So I'm free. Before I press lock and build, I can make any changes I want. And now Joanne's date of birth is showing. That's very nice. The addresses all look correct. And the references on. You don't have to put a reference number in. I'm ready. I'm very excited about to build my first self-managed super fund. I'm going to put my credit card details. So I'll put my credit card details in and there it is. Congratulations on building a legal document. Well, that's good, but I want to see it right now. It's signed by a lawyer, actually me, signed off on that document. And I can now see, and there it is. The self-managed super fund, there's the invoice. And here is the document. Oh, very, very excited. It is a locked PDF. Why is it a locked PDF? It's so you cannot change it. Why do we not want you to change it? Because we've signed off on our law firm's professional indemnity insurance for millions of dollars. So this is critical. This document's correct because we are putting our name. There it is. Look, the law firm's logo is there on every page. Look at that. So it's a self-managed super fund that's James and Jodie Smith Superannuation Fund, going well so far. And the trustees Twang Barrage Limited. This has worked. This is fantastic. And there's all your rules. So all the latest changes are in, and our deed is updated continuously to make sure it's always compliant. And if there are any updates, we will email you to say you should update your self-managed super fund. So every 8 or 9 years, generally there's another major update. We will let you know when you need to update it next if you keep your emails fresh on our website. There are the members, James and Joanne. Membership, so you can accept or reject any members you want, so you can add your children on. Now, how long does a trust exist for in Australia? In all states other than South Australia, trusts only go for 80 years. It's called the law of perpetuity, so it's based on English law. But self-managed super funds, indeed all superannuation funds, are not bound by mere mortal trust law. These trusts go on forever, so they go for 1,000 years. Well, go for infinity, provided you have members. Equalisation accounts are vital, different dealings you can do. You can borrow money under the instalment warrant arrangements. Everything's there. Income streams, all the latest changes. Where a member goes bankrupt and he or she is no longer preserved, we do our best to keep the money out of the hands of the trustee in bankruptcy. Very unique documentation there, very, very useful. Family law matters, it complies with all the family law matters. Authorised investments are pretty much everything and anything. This deed is a permissive deed. There's two types of self-managed super funds, regimented and permissive. Now, regimented deeds are what we used to do back in the 80s. They have all the rules in it, so your deed might be 300 pages long. And how long is this document here? Be under 20 pages from memory. See if I'm correct. Oh, there it is. So it's under 20 pages in length. So regimented deeds have all the tax law and all the superannuation and all the SIS law all put into it. So you don't need to go to any legislation. It's a one-stop shop, which we thought was a good idea in the 1980s. But of course, the laws change with such dramatic force. Because superannuation is now a football between these silly political parties that are forever changing the rules, we now, over the last 30 years, have introduced permissive deeds. And Legal Consolidated, Brett Davies, was one of the very first law firms, if not the very first law firm in Australia to produce short-form deeds, just like this one. Now, everyone does it now. But the reason we do permissive deeds, short deeds, is because we say you can do anything you want to do to super. Anything. Except it's subject to the SIS legislation. It's subject to trust law. It's subject to the laws of this country. So we don't repeat the laws. So you get a much longer life expectation out of your self-managed super fund deed than you would if you do these big old, and you still see them, old regimented deeds. They're very long, and some websites and law firms still produce them like that, but it's certainly not a best practice. So there's death benefits. What happens at death? How's the super paid out? Can you do binding death benefit nominations? We'll have to find out. In a second we'll find that out. No partnerships are critically important for asset protection. You see, there's 3 safe harbours in the world for asset protection. You've got your non-working spouse, you've got your clean family trust, it doesn't do anything other than own passive assets, and you've got your self-managed super fund. They're all considered the 3 great pillars of asset protection. But remember, a self-managed super fund can still go insolvent. Yes, I know it's unlikely because they're very conservative investments, but you can still invest in, say, a property. Let's say you buy a commercial block or a residential property. You can buy residential property and commercial blocks. You just can't buy residential property off yourself, but you can buy residential property and you insure it, but someone comes in and hurts themselves, they sue you as the owner or the trustee of the self-managed super fund, and the self-managed super fund may well go insolvent. So we want to make sure that there's no opportunity to contaminate insolvency back to you as the members. So traditionally, if you went bankrupt, your self-managed super fund's protected, but also under a legal consolidated self-managed super fund deed, if the super fund goes bankrupt, goes insolvent, then you as the member are protected as far as the law is able. And there's a common seal. Because it's a company, there's a common seal under 127 of the Corporations Act, beautifully put in. Well, what's next? Well, minutes. Minutes to establish the fund. And here it is, the minutes are all in there, what to do. Where do I now lodge it to? It's a hot link to the Australian Taxation Office. Now, this is the death benefit binding nomination, and there's 4 choices. I know you want the non-lapsing binding death benefit nomination. I'm going to get to it, but let me just go through the 4. So the first nomination you can have is non-binding, which is, well, okay, it's pretty much a waste of time putting it in, but by law you're allowed to put it in, so we put it in. The next one is a binding death benefit notice, where it expires after 3 years. They all used to be like this. In fact, I've just read an academic paper that said that only self-managed super funds can actually extend to infinity a death benefit by nomination, that all retail and wholesale funds are not able to do that. That's academic paper, wouldn't worry about that. But self-managed super funds can actually have a binding death benefit nomination, and it never expires. This is the one that's hot to trot. This is the one everyone's talking about. This is it. So you complete this document, and super will then go to the person it needs to go to. This is a very technical piece of paper and needs to be signed correctly. And if you have a look at the case of Katz and Grossman and all the main superannuation and self-managed super fund cases, it often comes down to how this document's prepared by your lawyer. And you want to make sure your lawyer is a superannuation specialist. Even the witnesses have their own signing witnessed as well. There is incredibly purposeful in every single word of these 2 pages for your death benefit binding nomination. Now, how do you want to do it? Do you want to leave everything to your estate? Well, let's go back to see how you want to do it. So, do you want to leave everything to your estate, to your will, or do you leave everything to your family, or what do you want to do there? Now, if you build a 3-generation testamentary trust will, so if you build a will which has a 3-generational testamentary trust, you can often wash out the 17% or 32% tax on the super when it goes to adult children for your concessional component. What's that? There's no tax on super when you die. No, that's not correct. There's no tax on your super when it goes to a spouse. I accept that. But even then, the money that they get, it's tax-free, but as they earn income on it over the next 20, 30 years, they'll pay income tax. If you leave the super into the estate, and if it has a 3-generational testamentary trust, wills, which you can build on our website, often there is no death tax, and often there's no income tax on the money for up to 80 years from the date of your death. So there's 2 taxing points. One, at the moment of your death, there's either 17% or 32% tax, called a non-dependency for non-dependence, and a non-dependence would include a child over 18, unless of course the child's still living at home and you're maintaining that child, which can often be the case. And that tax rate's either 17 or 32% on the concessional contribution of the fund. So there is an argument that you should leave it to the estate. Now, you don't use the word estate, you use the word legal person representative. And you would, in that instance, put 100% down there. Or you could put your wife's full name and her date of birth and relationship, my spouse, 100%. Or you could do it, if you've got a mistress, you could put her down as well, provided you're financially supporting your mistress. That will give you a binding death benefit nomination. Love them. Very nice. A bit more information on death benefit nominations. Now, the next one is your product disclosure statement. So here it is. This is a lifesaver. If you're an accountant, financial advisor, lawyer, or auditor, you've got to demand, in fact, you should not touch a Solvency Super Fund deed unless there is a product disclosure statement. You should not touch it unless it's an up-to-date product disclosure statement. This document pretty much protects you and the dominant person in the Solvency Super Fund. And it just freshly says, it just states all the nice things you want to hear in a caring and loving way. And you bind that with the Solvency Super Fund. Here's another document you bind with the Solvency Super Fund called an investment strategy. Now, I and my lawyers sit on a lot of desktop audits from the Australian Taxation Office of clients that are being audited by the Solvency Super Fund. And the ATO have got a little list, and they change that from time to time. And we update our Solvency Super Fund according to how the ATO responds to these poor people being audited. We pretty much will find the first question that the ATO will ask is, where's your up-to-date investment strategy? And that's why it says here, it should be done at least annually. Everything we do is guided to help you be friendly to the Australian Taxation Office, who are the arbitrators and controllers of Solvency Super Funds. So everything we do is designed to help you and your clients be protected. So there it is. There's your investment strategy. Change it as you see fit. There's your percentages. You can change as you see fit. Has it got cryptocurrency? The latest one does have cryptocurrency. So we put cryptocurrency in it, but made major changes to it a little while ago. There's membership applications. So there's one for Jimmy, and there's one for his beautiful wife Joanne, and there should be a spare one, which you put that into the document, and every time you need to have a new member, just photocopy it, fill it in, and then the membership's done. There's minutes to accept the new trustees and outgoing trustees, so this can be updated for many hundreds of years. And then, here's a covering letter. This is very unique. This is a covering letter signed by a partner of our law firm, a law firm's letterhead confirming that we built the document, not you as the accountant or the advisor, that we built it and we carried the professional indemnity insurance as a lawyer. There's your reference on it, the top. And it's addressed to the proprietary limited company, and everything you need to know about Solvency Super Funds and what to do now, the sole purpose test, so you protect the reversionary pensions, big news at the moment, and signed by a partner of our law firm. You've done it. You have built yourself a self-managed super fund. And we have 100% money back guarantee, so you are able at all times to, if you need to make any changes, you can make any changes you want by just emailing us, send a voucher, so you can update that document. Now, in years to come, you may want, in 10 years' time, you may want to update the self-managed super fund. So these are the main updated documents. So full replacement deed, a death benefit nomination. You don't need that because you've already got that, but you may want to update the trustee of your member, or you may want to change the self-managed super fund name. These are all things you can do online on our website. You may well decide that your self-managed super fund wants to lease out commercial property, may own commercial property. We've got a dedicated commercial lease agreement for self-managed super funds that want to lease out their commercial property. And often you might want to lease it out to yourself or a related party. There's a special and unique laws, so our commercial lease deals with all of that. So your accountant and advisor is fully protected. There's an interesting article on no product disclosure statement for self-managed super funds and explaining why you need a product disclosure statement for your self-managed super funds. So if you don't have a product disclosure statement, you can build one. Now, that now concludes this training video, and you've now been given the opportunity to actually build a real live self-managed super fund, start the process, read the hints, watch the training videos, and telephone us or chat with us or email us if you have any questions. When you ring us, the only people that are going to talk to you are lawyers because you're going to ring a law firm. So enjoy the advantages of dealing directly with a law firm.